Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Joan Hayes, and basically in this tutorial I'm taking an old painting that I did, thought it was done, went back to it a few days later and decided not happy with it, want it to be something different. So I'm going to show you how basically I take a painting and change its whole subject matter. Um, I start out the piece basically wetting the entire piece. I, I wet the front and then I wet the back so that it lays flat. And it's a pretty basic concept. I go in, I wipe out in the foreground as much as I can to remove a lot of that green pigment, which is what was bothering me. There was too much green and it separated too much from the background, the sky, so I wasn't crazy about it. So I went in, wiped out as much as I could, and my palette to come back in was pretty basic. I I use a opaque white and a Holbein, it's called gray on gray paint that really is a wonderful paint to help to mute out colors, and as you can see, give kind of that foggy, and I often say smoky, look. So what started out as a marsh, I'm going to turn into um, hills in the background, water really, more like a lake, and some forest trees, some evergreens, and so on. And so I basically go in with layers. You can see that I softened the background sky and didn't manipulate that too much, except a little bit towards the front of it. I just softened it a little bit. And then I came into the foreground and I worked on the water, turning the marshy green area into like a lake. And I didn't think it was necessary to remove all of the green um, showing through, though I will cover up a little bit more because, even in nature in the lake, you don't just see blue, you do see deep within um, a variety of colors. So I didn't think it was necessary to try to hide all that. But the basic concept of this is, you can always go in, unless you've gone completely dark on a painting, it's very difficult to remove too much. You can go in and manipulate and adjust your painting a little bit. The beautiful part of watercolor is that you can still move it. Like oil paints, you put them down a few days later, it dries. You can't move that. You can lay on top of it, but you can't move what you put down. With watercolor, you do still have, even after it dries, you can't remove it completely, but you have time to play with it. And that's the goal here, is to show you how, take a painting, weren't crazy about it. I mean, that happens a lot for me. I'm sure it happens to others too. But the reality of being an artist and painting as much as I do, I don't always like the piece. I think I do at the time, and then I walk away from it a few days later, a few weeks later, I come back and I go, I just don't like it for some reason. And that's just life. And so I, why not try to make it slightly different? So again, I came in with more of that opaque gray on gray. The underbody was an ultramarine, just straight ultramarine. And I did come in with Payne's gray for the background with a light green. That green was the phthalo green, yellow green, and that seemed to work well in the background. And now I'm just going in with an opaque white and that gray on gray and working my sky and just kind of evening things out so there aren't any watermarks, and trying to, just see what happens here. And again, this isn't a masterpiece. This is just a painting that I did as a tutorial that I thought needed a pick me up, if you will. And I feel better about the piece. Right here, I'm trying to add a couple of birds in the distance, making sure they're not too big so they don't look like a pterodactyl or something in the sky. You know, it's way back in the distance, so keep that in mind when you do something like that. Sometimes it's just a dot with a slight line. Um, I don't even know if I'm using the right word, pterodactyl, either way. I'll look it up later and find out I used the wrong dinosaur. Um, so, you know, trying to do some finishing touches on here to make the piece settle a little bit. I always say that, but it's true. You know, these final little touches. I'm going to come in with pencil again. You know, you may not be able to see too clearly here, but these tiny little lines, I show a little better here. Um, you know, that's a Caran d'Ache wax pastel. They're very subtle marks that I'm putting in, but sometimes that's all you need. It doesn't have to be much. Just that gesture of trees in the background and slight shadow. So I'm much happier with this piece. I'm really glad I went back into it. Didn't require all that much. I had a base and I had a base concept, and it just needed, you know, a little facelift, if you will. So it worked for me, and I walk away from this piece happier than I was with its original marsh, and gave myself, you know, a little freedom to play with it. I hope you've liked this tutorial, and I hope it helps you. You know, get out there and paint. Pick up a paintbrush. I keep telling you that, but it's true. Pick one up. If you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe. I'm going to carry on and keep painting. I hope you join me in the next painting. And I hope you follow along in this journey on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.